If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Welcome to Uncluttered and Unfiltered, the podcast urging you to let it go and don't look back. With nationally acclaimed professional organizer Christine Stone and self-proclaimed hot damn mess radio and TV personality Eden Kendall.
Welcome everyone to Uncluttered and Unfiltered. We were planning to skip this week because it is obviously Thanksgiving. We are recording this on the Wednesday prior to Thanksgiving. But we got a phone call that said there was somebody who was interested in speaking with us on the podcast, and his availability was for today. So we're like, you know what? Let's do a recording. However, this person did not merit you canceling an appointment you have coming up at 1 o'clock, which is when he's free to speak. And we're going to talk about why that is. So first of all, our special guest today for Thanksgiving is the one and only Grammy-nominated, super mega teen idol, star of the Hardy Boys, and writer of many years of television, Shaun Cassidy. Yay!
I love him.
He's on a tour right now. He's coming to our area, which is Jacksonville, Florida. He's either going to be coming to your area or somewhere close by, or he already has been. So we are going to talk to him. I say we, but you will be occupied during that time.
Yes.
Now, tell why this. Now, don't be offended if you're Shaun Cassidy listening to this. It's just that sometimes when you're a woman in your late 50s, early 60s, appointments get made and they cannot be missed.
Well, especially the day before Thanksgiving. So I think I have a little bit of reprieve.
Okay.
Anyway, so I had to do math, which I hate doing math because I am not good at math, because I kept thinking, why do I not have a connection with Shaun Cassidy like I do with Donny Osmond, right? So
because if it were Donny Osmond, let's be honest, you could be prepping for brain surgery and you would get off the table.
Right.
And you would be
absolutely
on this Zoom call.
Nothing would stop me, as you all have seen in the past, from talking to Donny Osmond. Anyway, so when I did my deep dive into Shaun Cassidy, as well as the years he was popular, his debut album was in 77. He was a teen idol from 77 to 79, okay?
Right.
And the Hardy Boys and everything. I was already in high school, and I was already into the disco years. I was already into Saturday Night Fever and anything disco related. We went to discos, so it kind of made sense to me why I didn't really have a connection to Shaun Cassidy, because I was too old. I was out of that teen idol phase. Now, I knew who he was. And of course, I had an older brother who was the David Cassidy years, but my younger brother was only 1 year younger than me. So he was already out of any kind of teen idol-y stuff too. So it made sense to me. But I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Shaun Cassidy recently, and he's just such a great guy. That's what I've got. Great guy.
So incredibly successful in the entertainment industry, but behind the scenes.
Yes.
As a writer and producer. And, I think we forget that even though, and now I'll speak to it from my perspective, which was, between the ages, I originally thought I was like younger, like 8, but I think I was more like 11.
Right, which is peak teen idol.
Peak. And, but there were a lot of girls older than me that weren't necessarily into this Saturday Night Fever thing that really loved him because he was 18, 19 years old at that time. But, he had played the Hollywood Bowl for like 55,000 people. He opened the Grammys in 77. He has a story, maybe we can get him to tell it, of taking Carrie Fisher as his date to the Grammys. He is, and from every interview I've watched with him, he gets it. He connects with his fans as someone who really has lived a well-rounded life. Despite coming from Hollywood family and being surrounded by that, he really understands, like, we're going to reminisce. We're going to enjoy this.
Yep.
This is, we're in a moment here. We're remembering.
Yep.
And it's just, I'm really excited to talk to him because unlike a lot of celebrities I've seen interviewed who are there to push their agenda, which, the in we had with him was that he is performing this tour, and through the venue, I was able to secure this interview. But I think with him, he really loves just chatting about the world being a great place. And I heard him talk in one interview about how, everyone thought the 70s were better than it is now, but that's just because we remember it that way.
Right.
He's very deep. He's very intellectual.
Very.
And he's very gracious. So I'm really excited to talk to him.
Yeah.
And I love that you did the deep dive as you do.
I love to do, because I love to learn like little things about people that I never knew. And so when I did my deep dive, it was from Peter Falthrop, who's like a music critic person. And I learned so much because his debut album was one of the biggest selling solo debuts in history. It's an album comprised almost of remakes. The single version of the Ronettes' Do Run Run. He also suffers from comparison to his brother, David Cassidy, who he only speaks so lovely about. And so wonderful about. Everything he says about his brother is just so loving, in my opinion.
And empathetic.
Yes.
Empathetic. He really, and again, I don't know if I've researched someone as thoroughly for an interview. And I've interviewed 1,000 by now in this career. I've done so much research because he's so delightful to listen to. I couldn't stop.
Exactly. And that's why when I was reading this, I was like, I didn't know that. Oh, God, that's so sweet. So he took over the successor to the Teen Idol throne, which such an aesthetically pleasing set of songs and talent of his own. Shaun Cassidy is a thoroughly enjoyable and old-fashionably hip record. There are two kinds of one-hit wonders, this I loved. Those who made bad novelty music and are forgotten in fans' embarrassment of ever having to listen to them, and those who made good music, meaning that if the singer appears on a daytime talk show, all housewives will stand up and cheer and proclaim their everlasting crushes. And Shaun Cassidy is the second kind, because he was not ardently cheesy. He made music for who he knew he was making music for. And I thought that was such a great way to explain him.
The only thing I would take exception with that is one hit wonder. I mean, that's rock and roll, Do Run Run, Hey Deanie, and then Do You Believe in Magic? He had a cover of that for years I thought was the original. And then I heard it by Lovin' Spoonful, or was it Lovin' Spoonful who did that? I was like,
no.
Who originally did Do You Believe in Magic?
Oh, God. Now, I don't know. Anyway, I think that he was his own kind, and he could have gotten all messed up in the celebrity world, and like his brother, gotten into things that most celebrities, and he just stayed really, really true to himself. And then one day I read, he just said, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's when he went on to be into, the other side, the TV series, and
created American Gothic. Do you remember a movie he did where he played Roger, and it was called like Normal People, I think it was.
No.
And they were mentally, I don't know what the politically correct word is, but they were challenged, he and Linda Pearl, and
I
they
don't
wanted to
remember.
get married to each other.
Wow.
And he was so good in that. He was fantastic in that. And then
And the Hardy Boys.
well, of course, the Hardy Boys.
I mean,
but also he was on General Hospital. He was Dusty on General Hospital.
oh, I don't remember that either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I remember the Hardy Boys, though, with Parker Stevenson.
Yep.
But I just love that he didn't even make an excuse. He didn't even go, I'm retiring or what. He just said, I'm done. That's
Yeah.
it. It's over. And in the kind of height of his success, he just was like, yeah, I don't want to end up in that whole thing. And I think he's a really, really good person. And I loved learning so much about him because I knew nothing about him because I wasn't of that era. And so you constantly compared him to David Cassidy, but they were two totally different people. And that was even his stepbrother. So it wasn't half brother. So it wasn't even, he could have really distanced himself, but he didn't. He was like, that's my brother and he is who he is. And, you know, I mean, I just love how he is as a person and how he talked about his brother.
I think it's so funny because I texted my sister, who is your age, 2.5 years older than me. And she instantly came back when I said, I'm going to be talking to Shaun Cassidy. And she said, I loved him. He was all over my wall. Let me tell you something. That infuriated me. No, you liked David Cassidy.
David Cassidy.
And I was so, because she has a different life than me. She's not so infused in pop culture. She doesn't often go down memory lane. So in her mind, she was just like, I loved him. No, Risa, you did not love him. He was my boyfriend. Your boyfriend was David Cassidy. So don't even come for me with you loved Shaun Cassidy. I loved Shaun Cassidy. And for that matter, if we were picking Hardy Boys, I was Joe and you were Frank. So just back off, sister. So
I did like Parker Stevenson.
Well, because you're a little older and he was more manly. Like he was more of a man.
I did
and
like
Shaun,
him.
Not that he wasn't manly, but he was more of a boy.
Yeah, I'm so glad, and I would like to see him in concert. So there you go. Just by learning about him and reading about him and watching interviews he did, I would go see him in concert because I think he'd be great. I really think he'd do a great concert.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So with no further ado, we hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you're listening to this as it launches on Thursday morning. But if very likely, maybe you've got us with you as you're driving around doing some Black Friday shopping or your normal routine, whatever that is. Maybe you take us with you when you go for a walk or you ride to work on Monday. Whenever it is you're listening, we are thankful for you. You are one of the things we are thankful for on this Thanksgiving, and we hope you have a wonderful holiday with your family. And with no further ado, Shaun Cassidy. Thank you, because today is the day before Thanksgiving. So I was very curious what your plans were. You're obviously taking a little break on your tour.
Only a little one, yeah. I'm in Wimberley, Texas, which is a lovely little town near Austin. My brother-in-law just retired from the Air Force. He was an F-16 pilot. He's going to be flying for American Airlines. So we all came down here for his retirement party. I was honored to sing the national anthem. And now we're celebrating with his family and my family Thanksgiving tomorrow and through the rest of the week. And then I'll be back home in Santa Barbara on the weekend.
Oh, that's lovely. So I wondered then, I was thinking a lot about this when you grew up in such a famous household. Jack Cassidy, Shirley Jones. I mean, all of our listeners and all of our viewers know all of this. What was Thanksgiving like then? Do you have any fond recollections or famous faces around the table other than your own?
Yes, my mom and dad and David. No, interestingly, and maybe in a good way. Thanksgiving was not like a Hollywood affair at my house. It was very much family focused. My dad would often cook. He made a great turkey. Um, my mother would make sweet potatoes and this goofy dessert that came from Western Pennsylvania called Apple Betty. And if there's any Apple Betty fans out there, I apologize. But it was basically like Wonder Bread with sugar and apples in it.
Nice.
But it was our family, and it remains our family. One of the things I talk a lot about, some even in my show a bit. My mother is one of the most grounded people you'll ever meet. She's 91 years old now. She looks younger than both of us, crazy, and in great health. But she was always sort of in the business, but not of the business, if you know what I mean. She loved her work and she loved the creative process, but all of the Hollywood glitz stuff, not her thing. And it's not my thing. So I think maybe I inherited that from her.
Is that one of the reasons you shifted gears and did more of a behind the camera
Thousand
career?
percent. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a crazy career. It's been amazing. But it's definitely different. I did concerts for the first 3 years of my career from like 18 to 21. And at 21, I was at the Houston Astrodome playing for 55,000 people. And I said goodnight, not knowing it would be my last concert in 40 years, but it was because I was able to, fortunately, transition to the part of the business that it really is my passion. I'm a writer producer, and I've created a lot of TV shows, and I've worked on a wide variety of shows. Most recently, a medical show called New Amsterdam that I wrote and produced, and I stopped doing concerts. I stopped acting, and I think a big part of it was I kind of longed to have something close to a normal life, whatever that is, and I found one. And I found one because as a writer, I could be home more. I have a lot of kids. I could be around my kids, and I could have something closer to a traditional job. Whereas if you're the centerpiece, if you're the guy in the white hot light, it's really hard to have any kind of normalcy. And I don't think it's all that healthy. But now, in my early 60s, I can go out on the road and do it in a way that feels authentic to the life I've had because a large percentage of my show beyond the music is storytelling, and that's been my job.
It's funny you mentioned the storytelling. I had made a note to myself to ask you this question. I did a deep dive, not that I really needed to. As a 59-year-old woman, I absolutely lived through all of those moments of your fame. And I still remember the moment where my friends and I all realized you could be a serious actor. And it was with the Linda Pearl TV movie. And you played Roger so beautifully. And it was like, we all just realized, like, he's just not going to only be a Hardy Boy or we also got to see you on General Hospital. But getting back to what I was saying, I was going through this deep dive before getting an opportunity to talk to you. And I started listening to you tell a story about Carrie Fisher. And I'm imagining that some of these are stories you're telling on the road. And you were talking about being in a limo. And I got called away to go to set or do something at the station. And I came back and I couldn't find the interview. So I never heard the end. And we left off, you were at the limo from the Grammys. You guys were childhood friends because you had the same.
You were waiting for the salacious part, weren't you?
Yes! It was getting. You used the word frisky, which was such a fantastic 70s way to say things. And I just didn't hear the end of the story.
Well, it's not that salacious.
Okay.
Carrie was a friend and a neighbor. Carrie was a few years older than I was, but we were pals. And Carrie was really smart and really funny. And, she had a similar backstory to mine. Her mom was Debbie Reynolds, big movie musical star, and my mom was Shirley Jones. And, we sort of had that kind of shared experience in common. And then crazily, insanely, the year that I showed up on the Hardy Boys, I had the #1 record in the country. She'd gone off to London, and she'd sent me postcards from London talking about this terrible movie she was doing with this ridiculous hairdo and these stupid robots. And of course, the movie ended up being Star Wars, and this movie opens, the biggest movie ever. I have the biggest record in the country. I'm on a hit TV show, and the Grammys invite me to open the show. Basically, you get to be Beyonce this week, right? And I'm like, I'm opening the Grammys. So I called Carrie. I said, Carrie, you want to be my date? Sure. So on the limousine ride there, we had never done anything salacious. We got a little more friendly than we had been as neighbors. And I get to the show, and yeah, I need to clean up a little bit and go out there and do it. And afterwards, we went out to dinner, and we were at a table with Ringo Starr and Alice Cooper and Patti Smith, and it was a big night. And she and I remained friends throughout her life. But we often talked about that night, and I have a lot of interesting stories like that. Yeah,
And we're
and I
going to
do
get to
tell
see
some of them in my show.
some of them you do share in your show. And I think I mentioned, I don't remember if I had already started recording when I mentioned our friends over at the Pop Culture Preservation Society, but they were raving about how when the way you approach your audience, a lot of women within a few years of my age, and I'm sure you have a lot of newer fans too, and some people that are the dates of the people who but you really get in the moment we're in, which is we're remembering. We're not trying to go back. We're not trying to relive it. We're just wanting to bond over these shared memories. Is that something that I hit? Was that spot on?
Yeah, for me too. It's all of that and more in that. Well, my first line in the show is this is a
Uncluttered and Unfiltered is supported by Hearts for Minds. Mental health doesn't have to be a silent struggle. Hearts for Minds is changing the conversation, breaking stigma, and building bridges to better mental health care. Through QPR training and awareness programs, Hearts for Minds is equipping communities with the tools to recognize warning signs and connect people to life-saving support. Whether you're facing a crisis or just need someone who understands, Hearts for Minds is your helping hand. Hearts for F-O-U-R, minds.com. That's heartsforminds.com, and join the movement. Together, we can save lives.
love story. And again, because my primary job is storyteller, this is a scripted show. I mean, I veer off it all over the place, and it doesn't sound like I'm reciting dialogue, I hope, but it is crafted as a continuous narrative with a beginning, middle, and end. And the songs, many of which were hits back in the day, and some new songs and songs of my family, are all interwoven to support the story. And the story, the love story, is not just the connection I might have had with an audience back in the day when I was a very young guy and the audience was mostly younger, but the rediscovery and reconnection with that audience and with a greater audience, because there's a lot of people that come to my show now in their 20s, which is crazy and was surprising to me. But the Hardy Boys has been on television now for like 5 years on Peacock. So a lot of people have discovered the show, and then they do a deep dive via social media and internet on me, and they find out I was involved with so many television shows as a writer behind the scenes or as a producer, like New Amsterdam most recently. And they're interested. They're like, this is an interesting story in theory that this guy might tell us. And then my favorite audience member are the guys who might have wanted to beat me up in high school, who get dragged along by their wives or girlfriends, and they end up having a great time because the show's funny. It's really funny. And it's emotional, but the bigger purpose-driven reason I'm doing this, it's called the road to us, not the road to me, because I think it's so important now, especially in 2025 when we're all living on screens, post-pandemic, where we're all isolated, to get out and get into a shared space, be it a theater, a movie theater, concert hall, church, whatever you want to go out there and be with people and have an experience together. It will immediately melt whatever division there is. I don't care about your politics or whatever your religion is. Great. Come on down, everybody. Have this shared experience and enjoy our shared humanity and go away happy and have your soul fulfilled. That's what the show is.
And I'm trying to, wrap my brain around it. Obviously, what you just said about how it is a shared experience is kind of what I was alluding to. But when you get that many people in a room, and some of those people have seen the Hardy Boys when it was on, and we had to wait a week or 2 weeks, we had to mix in some Nancy Drew. We had to, we were right there waiting. Couldn't VCR it. You couldn't cancel plans if your parents said you couldn't go out. And now it's on. It's bingeable, and you have new audiences. Have you gone back and watched it recently?
No,
No,
I haven't seen it since it was on.
I
I
haven't
don't
either.
think
And
my
I
kids have seen it either.
what have your kids seen that you've done, and what was the reaction? I know they range in ages.
Yeah, I have a bunch of kids, and one of the funniest part, it's a funny part of the show too, because I tell this story. All of my kids, I have 7 kids, all right? All of them were born after I played the Astrodome, after I stopped doing concerts. So they grew up with a guy who went to an office at a studio writing, which was still a weird thing even to them. Like, what do you mean? TV shows are written? Don't those actors just make it all up themselves? Well, no. But one day, imagine your dad, like one day just shows up at the kitchen table and says, "Hey kids, I think I'm going to be a rock star." Right? Dad is clearly having a nervous breakdown. And then to come and watch their dad, not at 20, but at 60, perform, sing, tell stories in front of, yeah, many screaming women still,
Sure.
and some screaming men. Uh, it was a lot for them to absorb, and it still kind of is. And they come and they like are kind of mystified. The best way my wife put it to our youngest daughter, who's 14, she walked in her room one day, and our youngest daughter has a poster of Harry Styles on the wall. And my wife pointed at the poster and said, that was your dad. And she's like, what? That guy in his robe in the kitchen was that guy? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that part has been fun for me, and it's been weird, I think, for them. It's all weird, though. My life is weird, but it's great. It's really great. I'm really grateful.
I mean, your kids' grandparents. I mean, Shirley Jones. Have your kids seen the Partridge Family?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the shows I created for my brother David and my brother Patrick. It was called Ruby and the Rockets. It was on briefly on ABC Family, I think in like 2009. And it was kind of based on like Hall and Oates, like an 80s brother duo or Everly Brothers back in the day, like who ended up not liking each other and going their separate ways. And then one day, the daughter of one of them shows up at the other one's house and says, "I think you're my uncle," which brings the brothers back together. And it was a half-hour comedy. Austin Butler played my brother Patrick's son, and that was one of his first jobs. Why am I bringing this up? Because, my mom guested on the show. Anyway, art imitating life, imitating art, like being able to take our weird lives, our unique lives, and work them into story and understand them better, which is my process. I mean, I'm certain I became a writer because I wanted to like do self-therapy. I wanted to figure out what this all meant. How do I process it? You take characters, Norman Lear, the great producer of television, Norman Lear always said that every show's about family. And it's really true. You may be disguising. I mean, Star Trek's about family. They're not related by blood, but that's a family, right? Mm-hmm. All my shows, going back to American Gothic, which was the first one, which was dark as dark could be, was about family. Scary family, messed up family, but family,
What are you working on right now? What as far as writing
I'm writing
goes?
a pilot, literally in my hotel room every day before I go to sound check, before I do the show at night. I'm writing a pilot I sold to NBC. It's due next week, so I'll be writing on Thanksgiving. I'm in Act 6, so I'm close to the finish line. I've been blessed. I've written probably 50 pilots, and I've probably had 15 go to television series over the years.
That's probably considered a high percentage, right?
Yeah. It's like threading a needle. A network has probably pitched 500 ideas for shows a year. And of the 500, they may buy 50 scripts. Of the 50 scripts, they might shoot 10. Of the 10, they might pick up 3 to series. Wow. So you're not really in the business of getting shows in the air if you're a successful writer. If you're getting pilots, if you're getting paid to write a pilot, paid to get a horse in the race, you're doing great. And I've been very fortunate.
Because you're a proven entity now. They're like, okay, look, we already want you to know we're very interested. We're going to put our money behind it. You're going to go do this. And if the
And
time's
hope it
right
works
and
out. And there's so many
everything,
variables that have nothing
yeah.
to do with the script or the climate. It's what's working. Like, for years, like nobody wanted to see anything with a horse in it or a Western. And then Taylor Sheridan came along, Yellowstone came along, and suddenly everybody wants their show about a ranch. It's just cyclical. And people often come up to me, hey, I've got a great idea for a show. And I'm like, I'm sure you do. But here's the dirty little secret. They're not really buying ideas. They're buying auspices. They're buying the people that can make them because they're investing a lot of money in you. And they don't want to see you burn through their money without delivering something that's at least half good or something they think they can sell.
Interesting. And timing, like you mentioned, is really important. I think you had said that you started the idea of even touring. The timing was not ideal. COVID hit right after you went out and started doing some
Worst
shows and thought.
possible timing.
I mean,
Hey,
timing
I
is
have an
everything.
idea. I
And
think
that
I'll
was just going to be for friends and family, right? When you first went out and did a performance?
Yeah, I started doing this again. I did a little, we live in the wine country of Santa Barbara, and I did a little like, let's see if anyone will come show at a little winery that only had like room for 100 people. And I didn't know if I'd like it either, by the way. I mean, I didn't know if anybody would care. I didn't know if I'd like it. And it was great. And we set it up to do one night. We ended up doing 4 nights, and people flew in from like Australia. They came in from all over the world. It was nuts. So then an agent called me. I didn't even have an agent then. And they, hey, you want to do this for real? Well, maybe. So we booked a tour. And just as the tour started, I played Vegas. I played like for 2,500 people at some showroom in Vegas. And it was like Valentine's Day of 2020. A week later, the world shut down. So I still went out and did some of those shows, but they got moved a lot, as every show did. And people were there in masks, and it was weird. And yet that's what got me going. This matters, especially now, this connection thing. I like Zoom. This is nice. I'd prefer to meet you in person, and maybe
Same.
you'll come to the show. You come to the show and we'll meet in person.
We are coming to the show, and I would love to meet you.
I know a guy who can get you backstage.
Okay.
Very powerful.
Say less.
Very powerful. So this matters, this connection thing. And it mattered to me then, and it became more important to me as I started doing the show sporadically. And this was the first version. It was called The Magic of a Midnight Sky. It's a line from a song called Hey Deanie that Eric Carmen wrote. And I talk about Eric in my show too. He wrote that after seeing Natalie Wood in a movie called Splendor in the Grass at a drive-in movie theater. People had come together to have this shared experience of this movie, and he fell in love with Natalie, and Natalie's character's name was Deanie. So he wrote a song about it, and I knew Natalie in real life, and she was as lovely and charming and beautiful and talented as everybody has said. So I get why he wrote the song about her, so I can sing that song with some authority.
So my name is Eden, and my nickname was Dee Dee when I was younger, and I pretended it was Deanie so that I could pretend that you were singing that song to me. So I'm very familiar with the song. Yes, I'll be doing that. I'll be channeling that on December 13th at the Ponte Vedra Concert Hall. Thank you so much. I want to ask you, you mentioned your winery, about My First Crush wine.
Yeah.
And you're donating proceeds to Children's Hunger, to fight hunger.
No kid hungry.
Yeah, so that's amazing, and it's just the perfect fit because a lot of your audience enjoys a glass of wine from time to time. I'm sure you've heard that.
I've heard that. This was this was really a lemonade out of lemon story, because as the pandemic was kicking in, as I say, we live in the wine country of Santa Barbara, and the Santa Barbara wine country, they're famous mostly for their Pinot Noir, which is extraordinary. It's a perfect little climate to make that grape sing. And one of our dearest friends one of the best winemakers in the Valley, called me. He said, "Hey, I've got 500 cases of Pinot Noir that was set to go to some very high-end restaurants, including Wolfgang Puck's." And he said the restaurants were all closed because of the pandemic. And I don't know what to do with this wine. You know anybody that might want to buy it? I said, "Well, no, but it's a lot of wine, and I know you're a great winemaker." And meanwhile, restaurants are closing in our community, and the farmers who grow the grapes are hurting. And I had already had a relationship with No Kid Hungry, which is a great organization, feeds kids all over the world. And I knew that prior to the pandemic, 1 in 4 kids was going to bed hungry. And now it's like, oh no, it was 1 in 7 kids was going to bed hungry. And with pandemic, it's 1 in 4 because so many kids got their only meal at school. And the schools are closed now, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'm a producer. What can I do? Hey, I have an idea. I had just trademarked My First Crush for a Las Vegas show that I was going to produce. And the show went away because Caesar's Palace or whatever said, we're not doing shows like that now. Nobody's coming. They're all home. I said, well, I've got this name, My First Crush. It's actually a great name for a wine. Why don't you let me label your wine? I'll try and sell it off my Facebook page or social media in general, and we'll give proceeds to No Kid Hungry. So we'll help the kids, we'll help the farmers, we'll help the wine makers. Have some fun project during the pandemic. And it kind of took off. And now there's a whole site dedicated. You can go to myfirstcrush.com, join the wine club, and we do these events. You come out to Santa Barbara, we'll have a glass of wine together. Or if you can't get to Santa Barbara, we'll do it virtually. And it's really a beautiful sideline. And it's completely unprofitable, but it's really fun.
It's so synchronous, so much synchronicity there though, because the timing was perfect. Everything just worked. And of course the name, I mean, you cannot beat the name because that is what you are to so many people. And, my daughter is trying to text me while we're talking, and I almost want to text her back and say, I'm literally talking to the Harry Styles of my time. So you need to know, she's on Do Not Disturb right now, but I'll call her immediately when we're done and I'll explain.
I have some teenage daughters like that.
Yes, and she was a Ruby and the Rockets fan. I just wanted to know.
Nice.
So
nice.
I had to explain to her that I saw your brother Patrick and Joseph when that toured through town. So I was like telling her who everybody was. But I don't want to be greedy with your time, Shaun, because I do appreciate it so much, especially while you're with your family and celebrating your brother-in-law. But I would love to tell all of our listeners globally how long your tour lasts.
But this is the biggest tour I've ever done in my life, because when I was a kid, I couldn't tour extensively because I was doing the Hardy Boys. I was recording at night. So I'd go out for like a weekend here or there, a couple weeks in the summer. But this is a 6-month tour where I'm going out 2 weeks a month every month. The next leg, coming to Ponte Vedra, Florida. Go to ShaunCassidy.com. You can get tickets, I think, still some. And bring your friends and bring your kids and drag your husbands, ladies. Those husbands that don't want to come are my favorite audience member. Those guys who wanted to beat me up in high school, come. I promise you'll have fun. You'll laugh a lot. The show's really funny, I think. They tell me it's funny. And you'll be with people that are as much or often as entertaining as I am. So.
Well, I can't even imagine the stories you have. And I just, I was not disappointed because, with due respect to your lovely wife and my amazing husband, I kind of wanted to see the white satin outfit from the Grammys.
You never know. There's still time. I'm on the road for another 3.5 months.
Where is that outfit? It's got
holidays.
It's got to be tiny. Those pants had to be tiny.
They were tiny then, and I'd wear like 3 of them because I'd take one off and then have another pair on underneath. It was made out of some sort of material like designed for NASA or something. I don't know where it came from, but it was fun.
Well, you're so generous with your time and you're so thoughtful with your answers. And so I was very much looking forward to today, and you did not disappoint. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And safe travels. Happy holidays.
You too. Happy Thanksgiving.
If you're a podcast host, listen up. This one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle. And I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.